The Ballon d'Or is an annual football award presented by French news magazine France Football. It's one of the oldest awards in football and is generally regarded as the most prestigious individual award for football players. But despite the fact that the Ballon d'Or has become a staple part of many football fans' experience within the modern game, less is known about the award itself, how it came into existence, and how it's bestowed. In fact, if you dig beneath the surface a little bit, you'll soon find that the Ballon d'Or isn't quite what people think it is. Born in France at the tail end of the 19th century, Gabriel Hanot played football for clubs in both France and Germany, eventually picking up 12 caps for the French national team in the early decades of the 1900s. But after being involved in an aviation accident, Hanot hung up his boots and decided to make a name for himself in the world of sports journalism. Working his way up through the industry, he ended up working at two of the most established sports outlets in France, L'Équipe and France Football. Hanot was a visionary. At the beginning of the 1930s, he helped professionalise football in France, setting up a league that would eventually become Liga. In 1948, having heard about the highly successful South American Championship of Champions tournament from some of his reporters, Hanot, then editor of L'Équipe, began proposing the creation of a continent-wide knockout tournament. This proposed tournament would eventually become the European Cup, a competition that we now know as the Champions League. But Hanot was not finished. In 1956, along with a group of journalists at France Football, he helped set up the Ballon d'Or, an annual award to celebrate the best football player in Europe. In the first iteration of the award, Stanley Matthews, then of Blackpool Rovers, narrowly beat off competition from two Real Madrid players, Alfredo Di Stefano and Raymond Kopa, to win. Both Di Stefano and Kopa would go on to win the award in subsequent years. And since then, the Ballon d'Or has been won by an incredible cast of luminaries, from Lev Yashin and Johan Cruyff to Franz Beckenbauer and Michel Platini. And there are some notable outliers on the list. Lev Yashin remains the only goalkeeper to ever win the award, and Fabio Cannavaro is the last defender to win back in 2006. If you're looking for an English winner, you have to go back to 2001 and Michael Owen, while Scotland was last represented by a winger in 1964 with Dennis Law. Northern Ireland have George Best to boast about, who won the award in '68, but Wales and the Republic of Ireland have no winners to their name. One individual stands out in the list of winners, George Weah, who won the award in 1995. Weah was the first non-European to win the Ballon d'Or. Initially, the award had been restricted to European players, but in 1995, eligibility was expanded to include all players from any origin that had been active at European clubs, allowing Weah the possibility of being considered. He remains the only African winner. Ronaldo became the first South American winner in 1997, and the Ballon d'Or did become a global prize in 2007, but winners have only ever been playing in European football at the time of their win. There have also been different mechanisms of candidate nomination and voting over the years. The general format has stayed the same. The award is bestowed as the result of a vote by a jury of football journalists accredited to the national football federations within UEFA. For example, Henry Winter is the English representative in the current setup. However, after 2007, the pool of eligible voters was expanded to include a jury of specialist journalists as well as the coaches and captains of national teams from each of the national football associations around the world. In its present guise, France Football continued to act as the nomination board for the final list of candidates, a list which typically includes around 30 options. Initially, voters were asked to cast ballots for 5 of the candidates on the list, indicating their preference in the form of a ranking, by allocating 5 points to the first-ranked candidate, 4 for the second, and so on. The candidate with the most points was elected the winner. Since 2010, though, electors have been able to cast only 3 ballots, ranking their top 3 candidates who, in turn, received 5, 3 and 1 votes respectively. Now, beyond these format changes, the competition also went through something of an upheaval in the 2000s. In the years between 2010 and 2015, the Ballon d'Or was merged with another award, the FIFA World Player of the Year award to create the FIFA Ballon d'Or, a prize which was awarded to the world's best male player. However, after the 2015 iteration, FIFA and France Football decided not to continue the merging agreement. Perhaps the most important development in the competition's history was the expansion of the award into the women's game. In 2018, Ada Hegerberg won the inaugural edition of the Ballon d'Or Féminine, a competition which is run in conjunction with the Ballon d'Or. That same year, the Copa Award was introduced to recognise the best performing player under 21 years of age, and the following year, the Yashin Award was brought in to celebrate goalkeepers. So, in the 65 years that have elapsed since Gabriel Hanot and the journalists of France Football decided to institute an individual football award, the Ballon d'Or has gone through a number of tweaks and changes, and in that time, the scope of what is deemed worthy of celebrating has changed drastically and largely for the better. In addition to which, its gravitas has only grown, with the Ballon d'Or becoming, to some, a transcendent award beyond the game's team trophies. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.